Hello and welcome to BioRules video lessons. Today we are going to be talking about a consequence of meiosis, which is called independent assortment, or basically the kind of random mixture of genetic material when preparing for sexual reproduction. So the idea of independent assortment is that we are going to have chromosomes, and these chromosomes, they come in pairs. We have one that you got from mom, one that you got from dad, and then you have another type of chromosome, this is a slightly smaller one that you got from mom, another one you got from dad. So we humans have 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs of chromosomes. This example here, they have 4 chromosomes, 2 pairs of chromosomes, but you get the idea. The chromosomes that go side by side, the types of chromosomes, so in this case you have chromosome number 1 and chromosome number 2. The chromosomes number 1 of each of the homologous, they are homologous chromosomes. They are practically identical, but they have some variation. They may have some different alleles, some different little variation in the genetic sequence of bases. The same for the chromosome number 2. The homologous chromosomes are practically identical, but they may be slightly different. So the idea here is that you may have some variation in some pieces of this chromosome. So in this case, for example, we have a certain gene that I called A, and you have the variation capital A and the variation small a. The same thing on the chromosome number 1, you have from one of the chromosomes you got from your parents, like for example from dad, capital B, and the one that you got from mom, you get small caps B. On chromosome number 2, you also have the one you got from mom, you get small caps C and you have big caps D, and the one you got from mom, you have big caps D, and the one from dad, the small caps D. So basically, the information is there, and it might be slightly different depending on what you're receiving from parents and so on. So homologous chromosomes, they are going to be coming in pairs when we have diploid organisms. So diploid organisms have pairs of chromosomes like we humans do, and most of the examples are going to be working here in in our course is going to be diploid organisms doing sexual reproduction. So let's take a look on consequences of this, using this idea of homologous chromosomes and when they do meiosis. So we already had the class on meiosis, and you have those over there. This is, if you remember, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, if you thought meiosis metaphase 1, you got right. Homologous chromosomes are aligned around the equator. In this example, chromosome number 1, the blue aligned with the purple, and the pink aligned with the green. Okay, that's normal because chromosome number 1 homologous should align with themselves, chromosome number 2 homologous should align with themselves. So they are aligned, and however, in this moment of alignment, something different could have happened. The purple, could have been on the left and the blue on the right, and the pink on the left and the green on the right. So they could have organized themselves in a slightly different way during metaphase 1. As a result of this, when we're going to be having the meiosis, what will happen here during meiosis 1 is that to separate the pairs, so the blue and the pink went to the left, the purple and the green went to the right, so they went up into different cells. The same here on the bottom. The other possibility was that the purple and the pink would have gone to the left, and the blue and the green would have gone to the right. Different combination of chromosomes. So if you have then meiosis 2, and we finish separating this, we can make several different combinations of chromosomes. In this case here, we could have made with 4 chromosomes, pink and blue, green and purple, or pink and purple, green and blue. Those are alternatives to what we have here in this process of meiosis. So basically, this organism could have made gametes in 2 different occasions and making different combination of chromosomes, and then therefore making different offsprings. This is the idea of meiosis, generating material, mixing up genetic material to make different organisms. Okay? So what is going to be happening here? What are the possible number of combinations, or how we say that, permutations that you can do with this kind of organisms. If I have, just in the example that I gave you, 2 pairs, the number of permutations could be purple with green and blue with pink, or purple with pink and green with blue. So in that case, I can have haploid cells in 4 different combinations. So the same 4 chromosomes over here, they can permutate in different ways, making 4 different combinations. How do I know how many can be made? From 2 pairs of chromosomes, I make 4 combinations because it's going to be 2 to the power of 2. 2 to the power of 2 equals 4 combinations. So 2 pairs, 1, 2, 3, 4 combinations. Okay? There it is. 2 times 2 equals 4, 2 to the power of 2. How many permutations will be possible if you have 3 pairs of chromosomes? So you may have already gone ahead and you know how many is going to be, but I'll show you how many are going to be. You can have those combinations, we can have those combinations, we can have those over there, we can have those over there, and those, and those, and those. And if you are paying attention, you saw that we didn't mix any here. All of those over here and here, they are different combinations of the same 3 pairs of chromosomes. They are totally different. No, you don't have 2 that are identical. How many permutations will be possible in this case? If you have 3 pairs of chromosomes, you have 8 possible gametes being made. 2 times 2 times 2, which equals 8, or 2 to the power of 3, because there are 3 pairs, you have 8. Okay? So, 2 times 2, 2 to the power of 2 equals 4. 3, 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. If you have 4, it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 2 to the power of 4 equals 16. So, 2 to the power of 2, 2 to the power of 3, 2 to the power of 4. What if you have n chromosomes, n pairs of chromosomes? You're going to have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, n times, which equals 2 to the power of n. And of course, then you ask about humans. What about humans if you have 23 pairs of chromosomes? Very simple. 2 to the power of 23, which equals about 8 million different combinations of gametes that you could make just by meiosis 2, arranging chromosomes in different ways when you do your meiosis. Okay? So yes, you make, every time you do meiosis, you can make 8 million different combinations of chromosomes, depending on which you put to one side or to the other. Okay? 8 million combinations. If you think ahead, if your mother could have made 8 million different combinations in each of her eggs, and your father could have made 8 million different combinations in their sperm cells, how many different combinations could they have made? How many different children can a couple make every time they make one offspring? So basically it's going to be 8 million times 8 million, which equals about that big number. That is 1,000 million billion 7 trillion. It's a big number. I don't even know how to count that. So yes, you're quite unique. Your parents could have done that big number of babies, 70 whatever babies, and never do 2 that would be exactly the same, just by combining chromosomes. Okay, so there's more. So let's take a look, and there's more. There's one thing called crossing over. Okay, crossing over complicates things a little bit, because things are not as clear as I told you. I told you that you could get a pink or a blue chromosome, you could get a purple or a blue, you could get a pink or a green, but actually when chromosomes they pair up, they form one thing called chiasmata. Chiasmata is this point where they connect to make meiosis 1 and pair up. And what's interesting here is that when you have anaphase, when these chromosomes are separated, the place where they touched, there's a very big likelihood that the chromosomes break apart and they go with the other one that you had there. So actually, you wouldn't be getting purple or blue, You can get purple, yes. You can get blue, yes. But you can get a lot of purple with a little bit of blue. You can get a lot of blue with a little bit of purple. So actually, crossing over complicates things a little bit because there can be mixture of chromosomes when you make your gametes to make your future babies. So this here is a picture showing a chiasmata happening in chromosomes. So where they touch, they may mix things up and you can have different combinations. Even if you receive blue, mostly blue for one side, or mostly red to the other side, you may receive a mixture between them. Okay, so any place that they are going to be touching, where they have the same kind of sequence over there, they form this chiasmata and they end up exchanging legs. So this here is what happens in consequence, in crossing over. This is the consequence. Conservatively, a pair of homologous chromosomes may make up to 1,000 crossing over, making 1,000 different ways of crossing legs and getting different parts being exchanged between them. They may cross over here, but they may have been crossed over there. They may have been crossed over there. They may cross in different positions. So a pair of chromosomes in an organism, conservatively speaking, 1,000 is kind of a conservative number for the possible combinations of crossing over. So they could have combined like that and separated like this, see? Or, okay, you can have this possible combinations. This is what happens during crossing over. So, however, the idea of possible combinations is that this here can happen. Maybe they touched over there and they made this kind of crossing over. Okay, making those over there. You have a one all purple, one all blue, mainly purple with a little bit of blue, mainly blue with a little bit of purple. However, what if they touched in a different position? What if they touched there? So then they would also make the same kind of mixture. They would also make 4 chromosomes over there, one all purple, one all blue, but now you have middle part here that's from the purple, and you have a lot of blue in the tips, a little bit of the blue in the middle, and a lot on the tips from the purple. So depending on where the chiasmata happens, you can have different combinations of results or sharing material during crossing over. Okay, so just to illustrate here ways that they could be touching. There are many different ways that they could be touching. So how many times? How many ways? 1,600, 200, 55, 4. So depends on the size of the chromosome, depends on the species, but one conservative view is that they could be doing kind of 1,000. So let's take a look now. How many pairs can be made if you do crossing over? So if instead of getting one to one side, another one to one side, instead of getting blue or purple, if you can get a little bit all blue, or mainly blue with a little bit of purple, or other little, or more. So if you can have different things, let's say that you can have 1,000 different ways of combining 2 pairs of chromosomes. If it's 1,000, so then it's 1,000 times 1,000, which is 1,000 to the power of 2 combinations. If you have 3 chromosomes, it will be 1,000 to the power of 3 combinations. If you have 4, 1,000 to the power of 4. If you are a human being, you can have 1,000 to the power of 23 combinations, which is roughly 10 to the power of 69 different combinations of chromosomes when you do sexual reproduction. And now, think that mom can make 10 to the power of 69, and dad can make 10 to the power of 69. So the chances your parents are going to be making different babies when they are doing sexual reproduction will be the multiplication of that, or 10 to the power of 138 different combinations of chromosome. That's quite a lot. I don't know if you have an idea on how big that number is. This is a really big number. Don't try to put that in your calculator. It might explode it. Okay? But 1,000 combinations, I say it's conservative, but let's be more conservative. Let's say that you can make 100 different combinations. This is very conservative number of possible combinations in crossing over. So it will be 100 times 100, which equals 10,000. If you have 2, it equals 1 million. If you have 3 pairs, if you have 4, it's going to be that big number. If you have n, is going to be 10 to the power of 100 to the power of n, which equals to, in humans, 100 to the power of 23, which equals 10 to the power of 46 different combinations. If you get mom and dad, 10 to the power of 46 times 10 to the power of 46, how many different combinations in this very conservative way would we make? 10 to the power of 46, 10 to the power of 92. This is still a very big number of combinations. Okay? Let's try to be a little bit more conservative. 60 combinations, 6 to the power of 2, 6 to the power of 3, 6 to the power of 4, 6 to the power of n, 6 to the power of 23, which is more or less 10 to the power of 41. No, 10 to the power of 41 in mom, 10 to the power of 41 in dad, multiply that, 10 to the power of 82. In a very, 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 very conservative way of thinking of the number of crossing overs, okay, it's 10 to the power of 82. Not so conservative, but kind of conservative, 10 to the power of 138. How big is that number? Just to give you an idea, okay, there are 10 to the power of 82 atoms in the universe, in the known universe. So basically, with this very conservative number of crossing overs, your mom and dad could have made the equivalent of the number of atoms in the known universe combinations if they try to make 2 babies at the same time. So, yes, you are really unique, because actually you may be 1 in 10 to the power of 82 combinations, you may be 1 in 10 to the power of 92 combinations, you may be 1 in 10 to the power of 138 combinations. So you are really, 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 really absolutely unique. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll have time to discuss this later to see if you got all the details in this part. And this is going to be extremely important for us to understand the genetics, because this is the base of genetics. This is how we mix things, and that's how I'm going to be asking, what's the chance of you making a baby with blue eyes, of glue earlobe, or so on? So now you take your time to do the quiz. I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.